Good evening and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to round 7 of the Automobilista Australia TCR Oz series. As you can see, we are at Sandown Raceway this evening for what I'm sure is going to be a couple of absolutely fantastic races. There's not much field spread around here in practice, albeit two FCR cars and championship leaders are a little bit out in front. Something tells me around here it's not going to be easy for those guys to make headway, especially in the reverse grid race. So if you do see one of those guys drop down through the field, it may be a bridge too far for them to come back. Anyway, just ticked over to qualifying. The fastest lap in practice for reference was Brenton Foley, a 1 minute 15.677, followed by Brendan Ross, a 15.850, but he can go a little bit faster as well. About a tenth and a half faster for him as well. So he's not too far away from Foley. Dwayne Davies is a little ways off, a 15.997, and turn another 4 tenths adrift with a 16.388. With Luke Joyner rounding out the top 5 with a 16.8, and a further half a second away from Termo. With the rest of the field, though, not much field spread between them. Anyway, we now wait for the drivers, or a driver, to head onto the circuit. And we have our first customer this evening. It will be Dwayne Davies to be the first driver to make his way out onto the circuit. He's just waiting for the green light, and he'll be the first driver to set what essentially is a shootout or 1 lap dash time. And of course, he'll be hoping to set a personal best, but 15.997, that's not going to be easy to match. Anything from a mid-16 down is very, very impressive, let alone a 1 minute 15 in these TCR cars. And these guys will certainly give it a crack. Now, obviously, a key to this circuit is going to be curb usage. How much is too much? It is easy to get a little unsettled in certain places. Obviously, turns 2 and 3, you can use a bit of curb, but if you do use too much, it will unsettle the car and slow it down. And then you can use here at the top of the hill at turn 6 here, you can use a bit of curb on the inside to sort of help pull you around, similar to what Dwayne Davies did there. And you don't want to catch too much of the curb there at 7, because it will unsettle the car through 8 and 9, or Dandenong Road down there. We did have a massive accident with Luke Joyner in practice, losing the rear end through there and ending up on his roof, which I'm sure will end up on the YouTube channel a bit later. Anyway, Dwayne Davies now beginning his lap. Do have a number of the drivers out there on the circuit. We've got Joyner, Burko, Rhodey and Miles also out on the circuit. Davies will be the first to set a time. And looks like he's got Glenn Miles as well. It does have a little bit of traffic further up the road. Hopefully he shouldn't catch it. But hopefully none of the drives in front do slow down for any reason, whether it be a mistake or just to slow down from the other cars in front. 28.6 in the first split. Not ideal, but not too bad either for Glenn Miles. And this middle sector is in the braking zone really for turn 6 here, so it can be a little misleading at times. 46.1. Manages to not kill himself coming down the hill, and that's actually quite a decent run there through Dandenong Road. So this should be a solid lap time for Dwayne Davies. Hasn't thrown it off the road, made a mistake, we've got a track cut so far. Now the final corner to navigate, and now just a straight blast to the start-finish line. And that is counted as turn 13, but it is no issue. And he does set a personal best, so 15.987, that's not too bad. That is pretty impressive to set a personal best under 15 around here, and to do it when it matters. So the pressure is on now, those FCR Motorsport crew. As you see Burko all over the curbs there on the exit of turn 3, and it's unsettling for turn 4. He's got Rhodey sort of closing in a little bit, and Burko, there you go, 6/10 down in the first split. Got Luke Joyner out there as well. He's the next one to set a time. 17.5 in the middle sector for him. But he's already 2/10 slower than Burko in the first split. 17.9 for Joyner, so well off his personal best, 1.1 off, so he won't be too pleased with that one. Burko at the middle split is quite a ways off as Rhodey wide at Dandy Road and onto the grass. And Netherrealmian about 2/10 up on Luke Joyner's time. We'll cut to him. No, he's made a mistake. He's made a mistake, and we don't know where it is, as Rhodey's cut to him, has made a mistake of his own, and Burko up into P3. Rhodey will go into P4 for now. 17.809 for Burko. And that's about 9/10 off his personal best as well. So a number of drivers not quite hitting their marks when they need to. And it's going to put them out of position around here. Now, having done a couple practice races over the weekend around here with a few of the guys, it is not easy to pass around here. Even though there is opportunities and places to pass, it's not easy to pass, as there's not really too many places where drivers can sort of lose time. He's got Turmo on an outlap at the moment. He's got the new driver, or Does you in house, I should say, and Philip Ogden, and he's about to set his first lap at Automobilista Australia, I believe, and his first lap here in the TCR Oz series. His fastest in practice. Just looking at live races. Well, live races on this screen hasn't given him a lap time, but he should be in that sort of mid-pack range, sort of roundabout where the Steve Bolgers and Crackers are in the 17s. 6/10 off Dwayne Davies in the first split. Cracker actually solid middle sector, so we'll try and cut to him. Actually, sorry, Mike Coulston, I should say, solid mid sector. Where has he gone? Crosses the line. He goes provisionally P2. Now, Coulston was into the 16s over the weekend, but tonight it's just not working for him. Not having one of those days. He's just having one of those days where that focus just isn't quite there, and he isn't able to set one of his ideal lap times, or replicate one of his ideal lap times that he's already set. But hopefully as the night goes on, he's able to find that groove. Phil Ogden, 18.4 is his first lap in the TCR Oz series, and Turbo provisional P2. And he's set a 16.9, so he's well off his personal best as well. 6/10 away, but still the 16 is not bad at all. And with 3.5 minutes remaining, you did see in the background there, the FCR crew are starting to leave the pit lane with Brendan Ross and Matt Williams right behind him. Got Steve Bolger on an outlap, and Netherrealmian now starting his lap. So we'll just stick with him. Hopefully the FCR cars don't cause any issues. They shouldn't get in the way, as they have been fast in practice, but they may obviously not be going as fast as possible on their outlaps. 0.5 down in the first split. It's not the worst first sector we've seen, but you probably would have wanted a couple extra tenths there, as both the FCR cars out of the way. Ross and Williams, 7/10 down in the middle sector, so he's lost a couple tenths to Dwayne Davies in the middle sector. But if he was 7/10 down and was able to hold that final sector, it would still be a 17.6, or sorry, a 16.6. My mistake. Ooh, he's locked up a little there at the penultimate corner, and it's thrown him off for the final proper corner of the circuit. So not a good final sector for Netherrealmian, And that's going to be a 17.9. I was going to say 18 for a second, but not ideal for him. So he has been the man in form of late, but tonight, so far, not quite with it. And doesn't seem to be his usual self, as we've got now Brendan Ross and Matt Williams out on the circuit, with Brendan Ross giving Matt Williams probably a little bit of a tow. But from the laps I've done around here and the racing I've done in these cars around here, there isn't too much to be gained, perhaps only a kilometre per hour or two at most. And Williams 0.6 down in the first split. In fact, Bolger having an impressive lap so far. We'll try and cut to him. He's just come under the Automobilista Australia rocking the suburbs bridge. Only 2 corners, 1 corner to go. Through there nice and smoothly. Race to the line, he goes P3, so he's lost a bit of time in that final sector, but still not a bad lap from Steve Bolger. And there's a bit of news with regards to Steve Bolger and Mike Coulson that we will go over just before the race starts in the warm-up session. Williams, I should say, crosses the line, 18.1, well down the field for him. Brendan Ross now up into P2 with a 1 minute 16.7. So now the only couple of men that can best Dwayne Davies, and one of them is our championship leader, Brenton Foley, and we will stick with him. In fact, we'll ride on board if we can find a decent camera view. In fact, we'll ride on the nose of Brenton Foley's Volvo. A nice run through turn 1. Bit of curb at turn 2 and 3, but not too much. Uses the outside a little bit like a berm. Doesn't use the curb on the inside for turn 4. Uses it on the exit. Allows him to get on the power early and then use the outside curb there like a motocross berm. Now the long run up the hill to turn 6, where I am absolutely certain where we will see a couple of accidents. Down to 4th gear for him. Just have a look at the split. He's only half a tenth down, using all the road and more at Dandenong Road, and I reckon that has cost him, unless he has a fantastic run through the final 2 corners here. But I think he just ran a little bit too wide there and onto the grass. It's just cost him a little bit of momentum, which is what you need around here. That said, it will be close. The run to the line now. And Brenton Foley, a 16.1. So there it is. He did lose about a tenth there. About half a tenth, actually. And that would all be at Dandenong Road. And I do believe that is all drivers now that have set a lap, except for Brian Walsh, who has not set a lap. He must have made a mistake somewhere. But Dwayne Davies, back on form and in pole position. He'll be hoping to convert this time, because he started from pole a couple of times, but he's not been able to convert with a couple absolutely shocking rounds and races from pole position. So he'll be hoping for a bit better this time. But he's given himself a great opportunity with the 2 championship leaders in Foley and Ross right behind him, followed by Turmo in P4, Steve Bolger in P5, Mike Coulson in P6, both of them forming a new team. The Pradello Camel Motorsport, I hope I got that in the right order. And then we have Steve Burko 7th, Joyner in 8th, Netherelmian in 9th place, Matt Williams 10th, Philip Ogden in 11th, followed by Cracker 12th, Gary Neville 13th, Rhodey 14th, Glenn Miles 15th, and rounding out the field, Brian Walsh in 16th. Anyway, we'll take a short break as I conduct the driver's briefing, but we shall be back with a look at the driver's standings and a little track map of the circuit. Catch you then. Alright, and welcome back. The driver's briefing has concluded, and now it is time for a little bit. Well, let's just take a look at the standings. So, with 2 rounds remaining now, 4 races left, Brenton Foley leads the championship with quite a handy margin, 134 points over Brendan Ross. All he needs to do really is just finish in front of Brendan Ross in both races here. Or even if he finishes significantly in front in the first race here, he will clinch the title with 180 points being on offer. And, yeah, pretty much in the bag for Brenton Foley, barring disaster. But funny things have happened in the past, and he did have a big lead going into the penultimate round in the TCC series last time before a disastrous round at Adelaide brought Ross back into play for the final round. So you never know. And then we've got a very, very intriguing battle between Matt Williams and Netherrealm. 361 plays 352, and both of them are a fair way down the field in this one, in qualifying at least. So it could be quite interesting as they try and pick their way through the field. And, Matt Williams currently leading that little battle. But I'm not sure if he can hold on with the way Nether's been driving, but with Matt Williams, you just never know, especially with his fast starts. And a fast starter, and he is going to be vital. And then we have that next little battle pack. So we've got the front 2, we've got 3rd and 4th. Not too far away though. A fair way away though, but between 5th and then all the way down to Mike Coulston, only, just under 40 points separating them. But Turmo and Luke Joyner not separated by much. Turmo has the advantage here this evening in that he's out-qualified Joyner, but Joyner does have a little bit of pace around here. And he always seems to pick his way through the field, does Luke Joyner, so I reckon he'll make it interesting. And then Dwayne Davies, who's shown some outstanding pace throughout most of the season, but his race pace and his races just haven't gone to plan. Only on 248 points, and that makes him equal with Mike Coulston. And again, those two, obviously, advantage Dwayne Davies, but Mike Coulston always seems to do all right in the races, while Davies seems to falter. So I reckon that one will go down to the wire. And then 21 points adrift, we've got Steve Bolger, who has missed around, but I think he will make that interesting in that little pack as well. He has shown flashes of speed as well, but again, consistency just a little bit of a worry for him. And then 22 points adrift in 10th is Cracker on 205. But only 5 points adrift to him is Gary Neville. So there's another little intriguing little battle for the final spot in the top 10 in the driver's standings. And then we have Glenn Miles sort of out on his own a little bit, 23 points in front of Steve Burko in 13th. Brian Walsh on 113 in 14th. Zach Ross on 95. Eli Mitch on 92, but he's only contested a couple rounds so far. Rody on 75. He's only contested a couple rounds as well. Brownie on 70. And then Scott Nolan and Corey Preston rounding out the top 20. They have only contested the first round. Now, the team standings, and as you can see, FCR Team Scrouse well out in front. They have clinched the title, and I do believe FCR Motorsport as well. I believe they've clinched second place, or they're pretty much going to, I would say. Outworld Racing with Nether in third. MPC Castrol Racing on 285 with Turmo. Matt Harvey Repair and Tune on 273, equal with Cracker Racing Team. Only one driver for each this evening, with advantage Luke Joyner in qualifying. Playboy Racing on 262, so they're all very, very close together, from 4th all the way down to Predello Camel Motorsport, formerly Gravel Rash Racing. And then we have Gravel Rash Racing on 227. Alright, well, we're not going to be able to get to the track. Actually, no, we will take a very short look at the track as it has ticked over to the race session. But anyway, as you can see, nice little circuit, nothing much to it, and that is why it will be ideal for these cars, because it will keep the field nice and close. But the top of the hill up there, that's going to be the tricky one for the drivers to navigate. Turn 4 will be difficult on the opening laps if drivers are right behind. and then turns 2 and 3 as well. You don't want to carry too much curb, otherwise you will see drivers out there making all kinds of havoc. Anyway, no formation lap this time. Davies gets a decent start. He holds the lead for now, but it looks like Foley's got the best start of the lot. Turmo having a look up the inside as well. But Davies holds on. Ross into second. Turmo up the inside. We've got an incident up the back there with car parts everywhere. There's Burko. Williams has got a bit of front end damage, as does Gary Neville, and one of the Audis that does you in, or Philip Ogden. But Davies leads away. Ross, Foley, Turmo, Bolger, Coulston, Netherelmian, Gary Neville, Philip Ogden, Luke Joyner, Glenn Miles, Brian Walsh, Matt Williams, Rhodey, and Cracker rounding out the field with Burko in 16th. And looks like Foley trying to warm his tyres frantically coming up the hill as they now go down the hill. A little bit of a slide there for Davies, a little bit of a lock-up for Ross. Oh, and that's one of the Playboy cars into the barrier. It is a big hit, and it wouldn't surprise me with the way the tyre barriers are if he has a bit of suspension damage from that. But we will try and actually grab a look at the start. And I do apologise for there not being audio of the cars. There we go. That should be fixed now. So we'll just have a little bit of a look and see what happened down the back. So Matt Williams was a part of that. What has happened here? So not a great start for Matt Williams for once. Ogden very late on the brakes into Netherelmian, and then it's just an absolute mess down there. And now we've gone live, and Williams all over the back. And Philip Ogden having a look up the inside at turn 4. He's going to send it. A little bit of contact between Ogden and Williams, but Ogden holds on for now. In fact, we'll stick with that battle. They've got Luke Joyner just in front. I think Matt Williams might have a little bit of red mist after that sort of first lap coming together with half the field. And it wasn't his fault. Ooh, a little bit of a warp there for Philip Ogden. And that's dropped him down behind Rhodey. Thankfully he didn't warp into someone, which we have seen every now and again, and it's never a good thing. Normally ends up in a massive accident and a car spearing up into space, but thankfully avoided this time around. At the front, Davies doing a solid job. 16.7 for him on that last lap. Got a little bit of a gap over Brendan Ross. Foley not too far away either, but Ross he was a little bit further away from Davies than he was Foley, but that's probably just evened out through turn 1 there. The front three got a little bit of a gap as Davies, a bit of a lock-up at turn 2. That has allowed the FCR drivers to close in. And now Ross will definitely be getting a little bit of a serving of slipstream, and Davies just trying to unsettle and break the toe of Ross in behind. Now there is a ruling in place about 150 to 200 metres. The driver head has right of way, because if you do lose it here, or if you do make contact, the driver on the outside will end up in the barrier, and that tyre barrier on the outside, it will wreck your day. Oh, bit of contact that sent Davies off into the boonies. So he was going well, and he's into the barrier, unfortunately. So let's just ride on board. So we've got Glenn Miles out, so we'll ride on board Brendan Ross, who caused the contact. So he had that little bit of a better run, but on the brakes just a little bit later than Davies, and Davies off into the boonies, unfortunately into the wall. And now, because of all of that, Foley into the lead, Ross down into second, Turmo up to third, Bolger up to fourth, and Coulston is in 5th. So solid outing at the moment for Pradello Camel Motorsport, running in 4th and 5th. And that'll be fantastic news for their new teams. Obviously points haul and point standings, because they do take over the Gravel Rash Racing's points, because that's who they merged into. Gary Neville up 6 spots into P7. Joyner in 8th. He's got Williams harrying him, and then Rhodey has got Philip Ogden all over the back of him. Ogden looking to make a move, and they're going to go side by side. Looks like Davies is having a look at Cracker in the background. They will go side by side. And Ogden just gets it. And there's a little bit of a mistake from Davies in the back there. Lost the rear end and somehow slams on the brakes and avoids Steve Burko. I don't know if that was just a mistake or perhaps a car problem for Davies. We're right on board and see if we can find out if it was just a mistake or if he made a little bit of contact there or was caught out. No, just over the bumps, just lost the rear end. Did a great job actually keeping it out of that tyre wall and also to avoid Burko. And he's pulling into the pits. Into the pits comes Davies, so obviously he's flat spotted those tyres or has a little bit of damage that he wants to fix. Ross also into the pits, perhaps serving. We'll have a look and see if Ross has stopped here or if he's just driven through the pit lane. We'll just cycle through here. It looks like he's served a drive-through for that incident he caused with Dwayne Davies, so smart on his behalf to serve a drive-through as opposed to serving a post-race penalty. And now we've got Crackett trying to make a move on Rody. Rody in the final spot in the 10. And they are going to battle it to the death. And Rody holds on for dear life. And maintains 10th position. There's a little bit of a mistake from Philip Ogden in front. And it looks like Luke Joyner has broken away from Matt Williams. And he's starting to put Gary Neville under a bit of pressure now. And we've got the two Bradello Camel Motorsport cars side by side down the pit straight. Netherelmian keeping a watching eye in the back. And a drive-through penalty. So absolute disaster for Dwayne Davies. It was all going along nicely. I've said this so many times this season. Starting from pole position and then unfortunately getting rear-ended by Brendan Ross at Dandenong Road into the barrier. And then another little mistake later, decided to pit to fix the car and put some new boots on. And now he's got a drive-through for what I can only guess is speeding in the pit lane. And on this lap, Coulston just falling away from his teammate. So the battle now, after Ross serving his drive-through penalty, is for the final spot on the podium. And a very, very opportunistic move for Netherelmian. Caught everybody off guard. I didn't see that one coming. He's outbroke himself just a little bit, so it's given Coulston a little bit of a chance to attack. And I do believe you have a car in the wall. And it is Williams coming down from turn 6. I did hear a crunch. He's got on the grass on the entry, and he's gone sideways. In fact, Joyner in front of him ended up in the tyre barrier, and then Williams, probably it was better off for Williams because he didn't hit the tyre barrier, but I think Joyner is going to have a fair amount of damage, and drive-through penalty for Brian Walsh, so I don't know what that's for. In fact, we'll go around to Brian Walsh and see how he's managed that one. Where are we, Mr. Walsh? So has Walsh gone into the pit lane, or has he cut the track one too many times? Looks like he's cut the track one too many times. Out of all the chaos so far, obviously Foley still reigns supreme. And Netherelmian, that fantastic move last lap into Dandenong Road, caught Coulston off guard as both Coulston and Nether all over the place over the bump at turn 6, but they've managed to hold on. Coulston wide at Dandenong Road. That's not going to help his course to get back at Netherelmian. And Netherelmian now trying to chase down Steve Bolger for that final spot on the podium. Termo, good 4 seconds ahead of Steve Bolger, with Foley now into the 15s, and Termo better lap traffic to deal with Joyner leaving the pits and thankfully getting out of his way. But yeah, Foley 5.7 seconds into the lead. The only drivers that can really stick with him pace-wise down in 15th place and down in 10th place. So, barring mistake, this one probably in the bag already for Brenton Foley, and that will probably seal his championship just about. Oh, and a nice little battle between Burko and Cracker. with Philip Ogden just in front, and cracker wide, almost lost it and almost T-boning Steve Burko on the exit of turn 4. Thankfully avoided it by just gassing up the front and straightening the car out. But just have a look and see how he managed that one on the replay. So it's already a bit untidy through 2 and 3. Outbroke himself at turn 4 on the grass. And a little bit of a wiggle, gassed it up and got himself out of trouble there. But he finds himself now down in 8th place. Oh, and he's wide at Dandenong Road. And that's just going to allow Brendan Ross to close in. And we've got Ogden in the wall. Ogden in the wall at turn 6-7. He's just cut to the replay and he's lost it on the bumps. He's gone slowly. And Cracker there cutting onto the grass. And Ross himself almost spinning it. In fact, I think Ross might have even gone wide there and onto the grass. But perhaps an issue actually, because he is still there and not moving is Philip Ogden. So yellow flags out at turn 6. Hopefully he gets out of the way because he will end up getting T-boned if he... Oh, and Foley's lost it, but he's kept it out of the barriers just. He did slow down for the yellows and that did help him, I think. He's 7.3 seconds in front of Turmo now. And there you can see 3rd, 4th and 5th. Not too far apart. Netherrealm in 1.5 seconds away from Steve Bolger. And he's now 1.5 in front of Mike Coulston. In fact, Gary Neville doing a solid job. Quiet race so far. Isn't battling anybody. But he'll be hoping that this, you'll see, 3-car little pack here starts to form up and start battling. And he can sort of have a little chance at 3rd place later on in the race. Burko now finds himself in 7th place. A little bit of a gap over Cracker, who's now got Brendan Ross for company. We'll just cut back to this battle for 3rd. Now that is closing. Gap now 1 second between 3rd and 4th. And it has to be said, Luke Joyner isn't exactly slow because Bolger isn't really catching him. That's what I mean. This reverse grid race, I'm just looking at live races lap times actually. Luke Joyner 17.0 on that last lap compared to Bolger 17.1. So with that pace, Luke Joyner could quite easily be running anywhere between, well, he's faster than Turmo in 2nd place on that last lap. So he has got the pace, but Turmo's gone around, and that's going to... And Bolger's gone around, and he's almost T-boned Turmo somehow. Nether's had to slow down, and Coulston's almost ran into the side of Bolger. So disaster for Steve Bolger, and disaster for Turmo, but that is Christmas for Netherrealm, and he's now into the podium place, and he's now looking at the back of the Audi of Turmo. And out of all that, Coulston didn't really... Well, he gained a position on his teammate. Not good for the team. Not a net, obviously, good result for the team. But no damage to Steve Bolger. And there's that little bit of help that Gary Neville needed. And now, Netherrealmian is going to try and apply blowtorches to the back of that Audi RS3 of Turmo's. And nick a 2nd place here after being pretty much nowhere in qualifying. Wasn't one of his... obviously more recent performance, well, he wasn't anything like what his recent performances have been, running in the midfield. Lately he's been running upper midfield, but come race time he hasn't made any mistakes unlike those around him, and he finds himself in a solid 3rd, and he wants a solid 2nd place here. And for whatever reason he's getting blue flags. I don't know why. Perhaps he's missed the timing. It says he's down in P6. Perhaps it's a bit of lag. Hopefully it's just a bit of lag and it sorts itself out. But something not going right with the timing beam there, because he hasn't got a 2nd split. So hopefully it fixes itself when it crosses the lines. It would be an absolute shame if that dropped him down. And yes, it has fixed himself. So just one of those hashtag AMS things. But Netherrealmian hasn't had a good end to that lap. Turmo's just eked away. Coulston, though, doing a solid job. Looks like he's found a little bit more rhythm. And starting to find a little bit of pace now. And just looking at the lap times as well last time round. Despite that mistake from Turmo, still managed a 1 minute 17. Only man in the 16s on that last lap was our race leader with Foley 16.3. Oh, and a mistake from Coulston. Keeps us out of the barriers, but not an ideal run. And then Luke Joyner parking it, trying to get out of the way for the leaders. And sort of bought Coulston a little bit, but not too much in the end. And just a little bit further back, Neville coming under threat from Bolger, and Burko now under a lot of pressure from Brendan Ross in behind, trying to recover after making contact with Dwayne Davies and serving a drive-through. And we've got Cracker out of the race as well, which has just happened recently, but our replay not picking that one up. So that's a big shame for the Cracker Racing team and Cracker. And that will move, I believe, Gary Neville now into the top 10 in the championship. And we've just missed Brendan Ross get by Steve Burko. It looks like he's made that move down the pit straight and into turn 1. So I'll just have a look on the replay and see how he's managed to get by here. Yep, just a better run out of the final corner. And away he goes. Oh, a big slide for Burko at turn 6. He gasses it up and is able to hold onto it, but he will pick up a track cut for that. And Ross himself getting a little bit of a wiggle on. And looks like Coulston's had a bit of a shocking run. He's missing his front splitter. And now he's got Gary Neville right behind him and his teammate as well, not too far away. So we'll just have he's had a bit of an off there. He'll go back. So coming down the hill, lost it over the bumps, ran wide, tried to cut the corner a little bit, lost the rear as he was coming over the bump back onto the track, and then in slow motion into the wall, and there goes the front splitter. And I reckon there goes his chance of a podium, barring a mistake from Netherelmian or Turmo in front. And now he's got a big fight on his hands to hold on to P4. Unfortunately, he's got to deal with Luke Joyner once again. Joyner a lap down. Oh, and got another drive-through penalty for Brian Walsh again. I reckon that would be for track cuts. And again, Coulston having to go around the outside at Dandenong Road with Joyner finally getting out of the way. And Neville and Bolger now getting by as well. But, these guys, they've certainly lost touch to Netherelmian, who's 4.5 seconds up the road. Nether, 2.5 seconds behind Turmo. Just isn't able to keep up with Netherelmian. And Brian Walsh, another drive-through penalty there. So disaster for Brian Walsh. I believe that's his third. But again, that might just be the game just letting us know, as opposed to him getting another one. Hopefully that's the case. Otherwise that would be, I believe, his third. So it looks like Bolger actually, he's had a good run through the first split. He's had a good run through the first split and he's in the slipstream of Gary Neville, but not going to be close enough to make a move at turn 6. His best bet is going to be probably, if he wants to take a risk at Dandenong Road, he's probably too far back for that. So see Coulston in front. He's taking it very, very easily, or very, very easy through there now. Not taking any risks. Doesn't want to lose the rear end again. And Neville making up quite a bit of time. But yeah, Bolger not the fastest through Dandenong Road. He's a little bit better through the penultimate corner and through the final corner. We're just right on board. And Coulston sort of hugging the inside there into the middle of the road just to sort of break the toe a little bit, but Bolger had the slipstream but FCR car in the straight line just that little bit faster, and making it very, very difficult for Steve Bolger. Probably is just slightly faster than Gary Neville at this stage, but just can't quite get by. But then again, little mistakes like that into turn 3 isn't going to help his cause, because it looks like he's a little bit faster than Neville though. A little bit wide there, locking a brake at turn 4. Allows Bolger just to reacquire him just a little bit. But again, not going to be quite close enough. And that Volvo mustn't be running any wing on that thing. It must be set up for top speed with no camber or anything on that thing, because he is just driving away despite the slipstream that Bolger would have. And again, these guys just a little bit faster coming down the hill and into Dandenong Road than Mike Coulston. So far, just a run through the top 10. You can see it on the left-hand side, but for those that don't want to zoom in or open up the screen, obviously Brenton Foley out in the lead, with Turmo in second place. Netherelm in third, Mike Coulston in fourth. He's hugging the inside there with Gary Neville in the blue Volvo there. Steve Bolger in the red Alfa Romeo, followed by Brendan Ross, Steve Burko and Rody. A solid job there in ninth. Luke Joyner, he's a lap down. He's the red and white Astra behind this lot. Is a lap down. Brian Walsh in 11th. Davies in 12th. And Matt Williams still going out there in 13th place. And there is another penalty for Brian Walsh. Or a reminder. Hopefully it's a reminder. But I think that's another penalty for the Ford Focus Playboy Racing driver. So 3 minutes plus an extra lap to go. It's a shame this isn't a battle for the podium. But all these guys, for whatever one reason or another, aren't quite there. Coulston had a chance, but threw it away with a couple mistakes, and that allowed Netherelmian to get away. Bolger was sitting pretty in third place in front of him, but sort of lost concentration. He's got a good run on Neville now. Neville going to about the middle point of the road. Bolger going with him. He chooses to go to the outside, and he'll be hoping to break a little bit later and hold on around the outside and have the inside for turn 2. Not quite close enough though. He was trying to get the switch back, but Neville was aware of it and kept his car in the middle of the road, giving Bolger absolutely no chance. So smart driving from Gary Neville. Outfoxing Steve Bolger in behind, but he's outbroke himself at turn 4 and spun up the wheels. That's what that smoke was all about. And Bolger now a very, very real chance, but he isn't quite as fast down the straight. Neville chops the nose with the Predello Camel Motorsport Alfa Romeo. And it now sticks to the inside. Bolger just trying to spoil him a little bit. But Neville moves back in front of him, at least for now. And Bolger is going to have to get a move on, because he's going to have Brendan Ross for company. It was 1.4 seconds. As you see, Walsh with another penalty, or reminder. It was 1.4 seconds, but something tells me it's going to be under a second once they cross the start-finish line. And Ross is quite a bit faster. Ross on that last lap was 17.1, and Bolger on that last lap 17.6. Crosses line 18.5 on this lap, compared to a 16.7 for Ross. 16.7 is quite quick out there. Second fastest man on the circuit. And that gap at 1 second between 6th and 7th place now. So Bolger, there is a sense of urgency as Ross uses all the runoff at the exit of turn 1. Walsh cutting the chicane there and trying to get out of people's way and to avoid getting another drive-through penalty. And Ross very, very wide, almost into the barrier there. Might have even just clipped it on the exit in the background there. Still not too far away, but that's not good for the heart rate. That is for sure. Coulston hasn't exactly got away despite these guys battling, perhaps just struggling a little bit with tyres. In fact, everybody on that last lap, bar Brendan Ross, was in the 1 minute 17s or higher. So 17.4 for our race leader compared to a 16.7 for Brendan Ross. So I don't know where he's pulled that from. He's not pitted for fresh tyres. He has served a drive-through. But at this late stage of the race, that is a fantastic lap. Perhaps he had a slipstream that we from join it in the background. And a bit of a mistake from Coulston there. It has allowed Neville just to close up. He hasn't had a good final sector. 15 seconds left, so there will be one more lap after this one. And Coulston, he'll be hanging on for dear life, but he could find himself down in 7th if he doesn't get it right here. And the pressure is on. So Pradello Motorsport, FCR Motorsport, Pradello Motorsport, and then FCR Team Scrouse. A bit of a lock-up for Coulston, but that is his line through there. Bolger hasn't had a great run coming out of turn 4. Walsh gets another penalty, and Ross does have the line, but doesn't quite have the speed. And Bolger having to go a little bit defensive. He's trying to stick in the slipstream, which is smart, and it's pulling him along. And Ross isn't going to be able to make a move into turn 6, at least on this lap. So Bolger holds on for now, but Ross is there and waiting. As we see, Coulston wide at Dandenong Road. And that has allowed Neville to gain. Goes defensive, gives Neville nowhere to go. And this group now bunches right up. Once again, Coulston very, very wide. I don't know if that's a bit of lag or the game. I think it's a little bit of both there. But he's got a slightly better exit than Gary Neville. Brendan Rosto's had a good exit. And he will make the move up the inside. But once again, Bolger has the slipstream. He's staying in it. He's just going to try and brake late and hope to hold on, which he does for now. As Neville goes, well, he lost the rear end there. I don't know if there's any contact, but that's now dropped him to the back of this little pack. And again, tries to make a little move there, but off he goes. We'll cut to actually a little bit of a replay there. So what has happened here? So he's just outbroke himself a little bit. And as he was off throttle and made that contact around, he went. And back live though, and Ross and Bolger side by side. It's unfortunate, I have missed it, but our race winner Foley, that will almost seal the championship. Turmo in second, and then Nether in third at the moment. But Bolger at the moment has held on, but he's outbroke himself a little bit at Dandenong Road. That will give Ross one more opportunity coming into the final 2 corners. And Ross doesn't do it at the penultimate corner. He's going to try and send it. No, he thought about sending it at the final corner there, but isn't able to do it. Didn't want to make contact once again. But Turmo will finish in second place. Nether will finish in third. Coulston will hold on to fourth. It's a drag to the line, but Bolger will take fifth. Ross will take sixth. Neville seventh. Burko in eighth place. And we've got Rody a lap down doing reverse stowies with, as you can see there, Brenton Foley and Matt Williams doing does as well. Luke Joyner will finish a lap down in 10th place. He'll be hoping for a better run next time, as he expresses his frustration over that race. Dwayne Davies, again, a pole position, and again, just bad luck with obviously contact between himself and Ross, sending him into the barrier at Dandenong Road, and then further damage, sending him into the pit lane and down the field a lap down. Matt Williams in 12th, kept it going after a couple errors, and then Brian Walsh in 13th place after his numerous drive-through penalties. Anyway, that is race 1 done and dusted here at Sandown. We'll take a short break. Hopefully I get time to sort out the championship standings and see who has won if Foley has won the championship or not. But we shall be back in about 5 or 10 minutes time. Don't go away. All right, and we are back. About 5 minutes left of the warm-up. I've done my quill. I haven't done my quick maths. I've had someone else do it for me. In fact, it was Brenton Foley. Just an all-round good guy, I suppose. Shame you can't be a little bit slow in a race car because he's won the championship. So, Brenton Foley, congratulations. Our Season 1 champion of TCR Oz. He's clinched it by 2 points, 142 points in front of Brendan Ross. With so 5-5-6 plays 4-1-4 between Foley and Ross. Matt Williams holds on only just. Well, actually, no, it hasn't been. Sorry, that was just the championship for first and second. Third and fourth haven't been sorted just yet, but I do believe Netherelmian will now move up in third place in the championship after that result compared to Williams' shocker. So a little bit of a change as well in the championship standings. Turmo pulls away from Luke Joyner. Joyner did outscore Dwayne Davies, so he will extend his points standings, and Davies will drop actually behind Mike Coulston in the standings as well. And then also, do believe Cracker with his DNF and Gary Neville finishing. So Gary Neville will move up a spot above Cracker in the standings as well. Steve Bolger, a little bit in no man's land. It was on 227 prior to this round. A decent result, but he did lose out to his teammate, but he will be closer to Dwayne Davies and Luke Joyner, but probably just a little bit far away to close in on them, at least by tonight's end. But he does have a mathematical shot of taking up to pretty much where Luke Joyner is, at least a realistic chance of where Luke Joyner is anyway in the standings. But alright, we'll just try and find. We'll just have a look, actually, how our drivers are faring out on the circuit at the moment. And we've got Cracker out there, 16.7. That is one of his, I think that might even be his fastest lap time of the weekend, actually. We'll just have a look. And in fact, it is. So he's set his fastest lap. Unfortunately for him, he's starting at the back of the grid because he DNF'd in that last race. So 16.7 would be quite a solid lap time in the race, and if he was able to constantly do it. But he's not helped his cause by not finishing in that last race and starting at the back of the field. But if he can keep that up and not make too many mistakes, he should pick up quite a number of spots, as we have seen a number of drivers so far make mistakes in race 1 and in qualifying too, might I add. Just having a look at a couple of the other drivers out there on the circuit at the moment. Ogden crosses line 18.8. He's quite a ways off his personal best from practice over the weekend. We've got Netherelmian 17.1 as well, with 2 minutes left. And just having a look again at the championship standings that have been updated thanks to our illustrious ginger, Brenton Foley. So he is on 556 in first place and champion elect, followed by Brendan Ross on 414. Netherelmian on 384 moves up into third place in the standings. Matt Williams falls to fourth place on 374. And Williams 53 points in front of Turmo on 321. And then 32 points separate. 32 points separate Luke Joyner and Turmo with Joyner on 289. Mike Coulston on 276. He isn't far away from actually pipping Luke Joyner as well if he has another good race and Joyner has a shocker. So that's another one to look out for. Those standings quite interesting. With Dwayne Davies does have pace, but he's also got a lot of bad luck with him as well. He's on 262 and 9 points in front of Bolger. So those four guys really now, they all fairly close together and all within a chance of finishing in front of each other, with obviously Luke Joyner in 6th, Coulston 7th, D2 in 8th, and Bolger in 9th in the standings. We have Gary Neville. He's about 30. He's 32 points adrift of Bolger as well, so he's an outside chance of nipping another position in the standings. But 10th is probably the best he's going to manage, barring a couple, three fantastic races and a bit of bad luck for Bolger and Davies in front of him. Cracker is on 205 because of that. DNF. Miles on 149 due to his DNF, and word has it that he won't be present for the final race this evening, which is a shame. Burko on 146 now. He's only 3 points shy of Glenn Miles after his second DNF of the season. Brian Walsh with his 13th. He's now on 125. Zach Ross, who is in the server now as time expires, on 95 points. Rody on 93 after his season best result of 9th. He's now 1 point in front of Lime Mitch in 17th, followed by Brownie, Scott Nolan, Corey Preston, and just to round out the final of the standings, Mitch Hathaway in 21st, Thomas Paul on 44, Michael Ford on 36, and David Keane on 35. All those guys, aside from actually Thomas Paul, he was at the previous round at Simmons Plains, but not here this evening. He's been at 2 rounds compared to only 1 for Michael Ford, Corey Preston, Scott Nolan, and Matt Cecil as well. Anyway, as you can see on your screen, it's ticked over to the race, and it is reverse grid time. And you know what that means? Crack open a cold one, because this one is going to be a lot of fun. And just to roll through the grid, obviously we will wait for all the drivers to form up on the grid. I don't believe there is a formation lap once again, so it will just be away we go. But Brian Walsh will lead us away from the reverse grid race, and he'll have Matt Williams for company on the front row after his nightmare. And then starting from 3rd place, Dwayne Davies will be hoping for a little bit more luck and a little bit less Brendan Ross in his rear end on this one. Luke Joyner, he'll be hoping to get back on track and get another solid result starting from 4th. Rody starting from 5th. And in fact, we do have a formation lap, so thank you, Brendan Ross, for for fixing up the server for us. So thank you, Brendan Ross. And away we go for the formation lap. So might as well do it properly this time. So Brian Walsh will lead us away from pole position for race 2, the reverse grid race here of round 7 of the TCR Oz Australia. Yes, the TCR Oz series at Automobilista Australia. Matt Williams alongside him on the front row will start 2nd. Our pole sitter for race 1 and perennial bad luck getter Dwayne Davies will start in 3rd place. Luke Joyner will start alongside on the 2nd row in 4th place. Rody will start 5th place with Steve Bergko alongside him. Then we have the 2nd of the FCR Motorsport cars with Gary Neville starting in 7th. The 1st of the FCR Motorsport Team Scouse cars in Brendan Ross starting alongside him in 8th place. And then we have the 2 Predello Camel Motorsport Alfa Romeos of Steve Bolger starting from 9th, with Mike Coulston starting in 10th place. Then we have Netherelmian, a 3rd place getter from race 1, starting in 11th place in race 2, followed by Termo, a man who got 2nd place in race 1, but did give himself a mighty scare in the midpoint of that race, having a little bit of a scare coming down the hill right there. So we'll be starting in 12th. Then we have our race 1 winner and champion elect. Brenton Foley will start from, hopefully for him, not unlucky 13. And then we have Cracker starting in 14th and Philip Ogden starting in 15th place. So Zach Ross unfortunately unable to make it. He was in the server but was getting some mismatches. So unfortunately unable to make this one. And Brian Walsh is very, very keen to get going because he's got a bit of a lead over everybody as we start to form up on the grid. And that is the run all the way to turn 1. And as you can see there, car 074 and the Dezuan House weaving the tyres frantically just before the grid. 1 light, 2 lights, 3 lights, 4 lights, And away we go. Good start from Williams. He's straight into the lead. Looks like a solid start as well for Davies. He's going to go around the outside of Walsh and up the inside of Joyner and into second. But a clear lead for Matt Williams. And this time, the whole field through turn 1 cleanly, unlike race 1. But Williams leads. Davies second. Joyner up into third, but having to cut the first chicane there. Brian Walsh, our pole sitter for this one, already down to P5. No, he's back up to P4. Bit of contact between a number of the cars, and that is Gary Neville in the wall, into both walls on the inside and outside. Bit of contact from Coulston. I don't think it was deliberate. It was just how that nature of that corner was. But we'll just have a look at that on the replay before cutting back to live. So a little bit of contact there between Coulston, Neville and Foley. And then on the exit, Neville has just he was sort of balked. Coulston had nowhere to go, and they were sort of made contact. So unfortunate. I think that was just a bit of a racing incident there. They've gone live, and Coulston off the road and losing his front end. So we might as well just cut to another replay, and we'll just fast forward and just see what happened up here. But Williams is wide. Williams off the road and in the barrier already. So what has happened there? So once again, we're going to have to cut back. What has happened to Matt Williams? He's missing a wheel as well by the look of it. The drivers were told not to go side by side, and whoever had the lead was to be their corner coming up here into turn 6, and it was about even, so he didn't want to give it up. Outbroke himself, was on the grass a little bit, and bang, into the wall. Big accident. Somehow Luke Joyner would have had the fright of his life. It missed him. It would have been a massive accident. And unfortunately for Matt Williams, to the lead, hero to 0, and he's trying to make it back to the pits, but unfortunately for him, he is out. So shocking for him in the standings, but we may see something come about after the race, as he was side by side with Davies coming up to turn 6. But Davies in the lead, Joyner second, Brendan Ross third, so fantastic start for him, up 5 spots. I have been joined by somebody in the commentary box. I don't know who that is, so please...
Take a guess.
Oh, no.
Yes,
no.
boy.
Well, I hope you've cracked open a can, because we've got 22 minutes of some bonkers racing coming up, because there's an angry battle pack behind Cracker.
Mate, I'm commentating the shit out of this here, boy.
It's been too long, my friend. There's a bit of contact between Foley and Coulston. Sees Coulston wide, and that's...
No, you need to shut your face. Fucking, we got fucking Ross going for second. Or he's up into second, into turn 1. Balls to the wall here, as Ricky Slick would say. Got to miss that bastard, eh?
He's holding on for dear life at the moment. Joyner's going to try and go around the outside, but he's not going to do it there at turn 2 and 3. Turbos now closing on these two. Dave's got a nice little lead at the moment. But all Ross needs to do is keep it going, because he shows some really good pace at the end of race 1 there.
I have no idea what was happening at the end of race 1, because I've just got steadily drunker as the oven's gone on.
And what is on in the oven?
Oh, mate, all the Jewish people.
I see. Well, there goes this video.
Well, there's your YouTube banner right there, fella.
Yeah. And there's Cracker up ahead now of Steve Burko for P6. And now Burko, he's got Brenton Foley right behind him as Netherelmian cuts the turn 7. And he'll stay in front of Phillip for now.
Rhodey's still up in P5. That's pretty impressive for Rhodey. He's not normally had the pace in this series, or any series, as I like to heckle people. So him to still be up in P5 is a pretty good effort from Rhodey here early on.
He got a top 10 in the last race, and it wasn't just 10th place, he got 9th place, so not too bad.
Oh, we won't talk about that, he was in front of me.
And it's like Foley making a move on Burko. Burko just he moved over on him a little bit, and there goes Burko off into the boonies. And
he's done the Sebastian Vettel there, and he'll blame it all on everyone else.
I'll have a look at that from... try and find Brenton Foley right on board with him.
I was watching the rejoin there, because we've had some shockers of late, and pretty good from Burko. Looked like he waited for everyone to go through.
I think it's just a little bit of both drivers. Foley did move over a little bit, so did Burko, so that was a sort of line ball. And now Foley's setting off after Rhodey. You've got Burko and Cracker side by side into turn 6 up the hill. Neither one of them wanting to give it up. And
mate, give credit where it's due. That's fucking Walsh, unless I'm still 80 seconds behind.
No, you're 80 seconds behind, champ.
You're on drugs, mate. Fuck you.
And looks like Foley out. Well, he's very, very close to Rhodey, but isn't going to be able to get the move stick. Normally at this stage, he's pretty much in the lead 6 minutes in these reverse grid races, but he's 11 seconds off the pace, and I don't think he's going to get that back unless Davies and Ross have some monumental errors.
Well, the knowledge that Ross is just a wild fucking cannon, and with Williams out of the race, Foley doesn't really have anything to worry about. His only opponent is commentating with you right now.
Also,
You wanted controversy between Ross and Foley. Instead of you getting it between Williams and Foley, and Ross and Davies and Williams.
well, that's just Williams is just controversy with everybody. It's just Williams to a T, really.
To everyone watching this now or in the future, you're a fucking dickhead. Rossi's fucking run a bit wide there, boys.
He better not. Got to say, you as the team owner, you'd be quite disappointed if Ross was unable to beat Dwayne Davies here.
Oh, history dictates that I've always been disappointed in Rossi, so at the moment he's performing as expected, if not exceeding so. He hasn't hit the wall, I'm happy.
Well,
he's going to watch this back and I'm going to get a message in about 3 hours saying, fuck you.
Or he's going to hit the wall and he's not going to say anything. But, not a bad...
Classic Rossi.
Not a bad lap, though. Both these front drivers in the 15, so these guys would be quite frustrated they were unable to do this in the first race. Obviously, both coming together, and Dwayne Davies ending up in the boonies, and Brendan Ross serving a drive-through. It's Turmo now coming under a lot of pressure from Luke Joyner. Luke Joyner was, he did have some okay pace in that first race, but a couple errors led to him going a lap down. But this time out, he's battling for a legit podium and putting Turmo under a bit of pressure.
Probably should fill this gap of empty airtime with some words, but as I don't have any, I'm going to flip back to you.
Alright, no worries. So, Joyner not quite close enough to make the move. Foley has got up into P5 and he is well clear of Cracker, who's got an angry pack behind him. There's contact. That's Rhodey in the wall, as is Ogden.
Can't stay on the roadie in the wall.
Let's have a look at that on the replay. So what has happened here?
While we're looking for the replay, where can I find the link for this here video?
It is on Discord, my friend. A little bit of contact on the entry at the top of turn 6 there. And then, again. Yeah, Phillip not taking the car in front of him into consideration and absolutely drilling Rhodey. And that has dropped, Phillip down to 12th place. That's moved Mike Coulson back up to 11th place. And Rhodey now back down in 10th place behind Steve Burko.
I don't know who Brenton369 is, but he sounds like a ginger fucktard in the live chat.
Oh, no doubt.
He honestly sounds like he's just a walking carrot.
Bloody carrot top.
Fucking he wishes he was that successful.
Certainly does. The Turmo Joyner battle continues. Looks like Ross has sort of evened out that gap. In fact, he had a better lap last time out than Dwayne Davies. About 4/10 faster. Gap is about a second. He's a little bit faster in the middle sector on this lap. Across the line. 16.4 for Davies.
Rossi, 50% of the time he'll have amazing pace in the second half of the race, and 50% of the time that's where it all goes wrong for him. The tyre wear with the setup we've been running, I think all 4 of us have been running the same one's been pretty good, so it should be interesting.
Well, he did set late on, I think with about 2.5 or 3 minutes left to go in that first race. He did set a 1 minute 16 out of nowhere. Everybody else was in the 17s and 18s at that stage, so if he's able to keep his tyres like he did in that first race there, I think Dwayne Davies might just be a little bit worried. But Ross has made a mistake somewhere. He must have made it coming down the hill because he's dropped 1.4 seconds in that last sector there.
We've seen Davies before in this series, though. If he gets out in front, he is able to control the race quite well. So.
And Ross big, almost had a big accident coming down the hill.
It looked like a very similar moment for both of the front two there. Davies just a little bit of a twitch as he got on the brakes, but the gap seems to have remained about where it was.
Yeah, I think Ross maybe just a fraction of a tenth faster than Davies.
Looks like it's come down a little bit, maybe 1.9. I can't fucking guess shit. I'm off my face, boys.
2.2 seconds. So Ross a little bit faster in the final sector. Still 14 and a half minutes to go. It looks like Turmo's just edging away. He's just had a personal best in this race. 16.7 for him. So he's just edged away on that last lap over Luke Joyner. Joyner doing a solid job. He's 4.5 seconds in front of Foley. And Foley on that last lap, about 4/10 faster than Joyner. So by the end of the race, probably with about 5, maybe 4 minutes to go, we'll see Foley on the back of Luke Joyner and Turmo, unless those two in front make a mistake.
If Foley you'd expect to be quick here with all his supercars experience, but a very different animal these cars are. The most interesting battle, I think, towards the end will be for the lead, depending. As Ross gets a big slide on through turn 6. But if Ross can keep his tyres alive and just keep the consistent laps coming in, I think the gap between the front two will close down.
Yeah, we have seen Davies struggle towards the end of races with tyre wear when he has been even running at the front.
Fucking fell over. He'll watch his back and I'll get a message about that and I don't even give a shit. Fuck you, Dwayne.
That said, Dwayne, solid lap that time, pulling a couple tenths out of the bag over Brendan Ross. So he's doing a solid job at the moment, but as we've been saying, Davies does have a little bit of a habit of having his tyres fall away towards the end of races, and we did see Ross quite quick at the end of the first one.
Yeah, on that previous lap, Ross was 6/10 off his best lap, which isn't too bad given we're halfway through the race, effectively. Yeah, Davies' big issue here is all hardware. The gap is about where it was at the start of the lap coming through the first sector, so as long as his computer holds up, he looks like he's in a strong position unless there's a massive tyre drop-off towards the end.
Yeah, just having a look at a replay of Cracker going off the road. So he was under pressure from Steve Bolger and Netherelmian. And both Cracker and Bolger almost having quite big accidents coming down the hill from turn 6 and 7, but they're both able to save it to some degree. Bolger was able to keep it on the track, but as we saw, Cracker running off the road at Dandenong Road. And with that mistake from Bolger as well, has allowed Netherelmian just to close in a little bit. So that's another battle that we have to keep an eye on, as it is very, very close between those guys.
If you go off here at the right point, you don't really lose too much. It's turn 6 that's your big worry. If you go off there or turn 7, that's when your race can really fall to absolute shit. But the guys I've been looking at all towards the front, top 5 or so, look to be fairly consistent through the dangerous areas of the track.
And we've got Foley trying to make a move on Joyner. Joyner will hold on around the outside at turn 1. Foley is close enough to have a slight overlap for turn 2. He's going to try and go around the outside. He's actually done it. So he's held on around the outside at turn 2. He had the inside for turn 3 and 4. And Foley now up into P4 and a real chance of stealing a podium here. But I don't think, as we both know, Luke Joyner doesn't give up on positions very easily. And he's going to try and move here into turn 6.
Foley, I've raced him down to the last lap a few times in the last couple of seasons for the win. If he's been playing with his bars, if he's got the car how he wants it, he's going to be pretty much unstoppable for anyone other than Ross and Davies at this point in the race.
Yeah, only 3.8 seconds between himself and Turmo in front of him, and obviously being the champion and seeing how he's driven all year, I think he's probably odds on to steal that last podium spot from Turmo in the end. Obviously 10 seconds to his teammate and 13 to Dwayne Davies. He's not going to take the win with 10 minutes remaining, but he can certainly take third place in front of him.
It looks as though he's been on roughly the same pace as Davies and Ross, so Turmo shouldn't be too much of an issue as long as he can get that pass done quickly. Turmo, though, is one of the harder people to pass in this series. So it's a bit 50-50, but with more than just over 10 minutes remaining, I'd have to give it to Foley at this stage.
Yeah, and even with it, he made a slight mistake coming out of turn 3 there, in between turns 3 and 4, but he still was able to manage to claw back 3/10 over Turmo, so quite a bit of pace in that Volvo. And obviously, coming for Season 2 next year of TCR Oz, he must be quite thrilled that the Toyota Corolla is coming back.
Fucking Corollas, mate. Fucking Corollas, mate. Fucking Corollas, mate. That's just a quote from all of us, yeah?
Fair enough.
If you're watching this in a country where censorship is required, you need a better VPN, Coulson.
Well, up at the front, and Ross slightly better on that last lap, but 2.8 seconds separates Ross and Davies at the moment. But Davies coming up to Rhodey and I think Brian Walsh as well, who are battling it out for 13th place. So probably not going to make it easy for Dwayne Davies, and may cost him a bit of time as he approaches turn 6.
Foley definitely making a little bit of progress on Turmo. That hard to judge because you have the pass on Joyner, but it's come down 7/10 in that first sector then.
1.1 seconds, according to live races, on that last lap faster was Brenton Foley over Turmo. So
I'm not looking at live races. I'm shit-faced. Fucking, you should be taking care of that. Get out of town.
Well, I just did.
Oh, fuck you.
No, fuck you.
Buy me a drink first. I've already had several, but I need one more.
Okay. Ooh, and a bit of a mistake from Walsh at the final corner. It would have booked Davies just a little bit, so he may see a little bit of time come out of that lead. 17.2 for Davies compared to a 16.8 for Ross. So the gap at 2.5 seconds. And now Foley's had a great lap, and he's right behind Turmo and will take that podium place that you'd think. Anyway, 16.1 compared to an 18.0. So Turmo has made a mistake somewhere, and Foley continuing his metronomic pace and consistency out there. Had a look into turn 1. Wasn't confident enough to send it up the inside. Has to be said that Brenton Foley is too conservative when going for moves. He should just send it more often just to make it a bit more interesting. As Turmo runs a bit wide at turn 4, that will encourage Foley to make a move coming up the hill. Might have a slightly better exit. And it looks like he's got a little bit more top speed over Turmo. We did see in race 1 that Gary Neville had a lot of top speed compared to some of his rivals as Foley pulls out of the slipstream. But he's just trying to distract Turmo coming to turn 6. And doesn't make the move at Dandenong Road. Probably setting it up for either the penultimate corner coming up or turn 1. Obviously still plenty of time remaining, so he doesn't have to rush this.
If Foley, he'll be looking at that gap and won't be too eager that he'll make a mistake at this stage. It looks like he's set up fairly well right under the rear wing here coming across the finish line, so we may see a move into turn 1 from him, but I don't think we'll see any overly late braking manoeuvres from him.
He's having a look, but pulls back under the rear wing of the Audi RS3, so wasn't quite confident enough to make the move stick. And up in front, Brendan Ross has cleared Brian Walsh and Rhodey, but he has lost a couple tenths out of that.
Foley there coming into turn 2, looked like he may have outbraked Turmo a little bit, and that caught him off guard being so close to him all of a sudden. It's given Turmo a bit of a breather, but it may work in Foley's hands by the end of the lap.
Yeah, sometimes it's almost worth sort of dropping back a little and getting a breather and then timing that run to get past someone as opposed to just being stuck behind the rear wing or the rear of their car. It can sort of balk you a little bit and sort of ruin momentum coming out of or into corners where you might need it to get by.
These cars especially, the front wheel drive, it's so easy to spin the fronts up coming out of a corner. If you give yourself a bit of room to the car ahead, especially when you know you've got the extra drive, like Foley's just done there through the final 2 corners, he's closed right in on him. It's just about knowing where your strengths are and where the weaknesses of the car ahead are. So if you're coming up to some tight corners and you've got the better drive, you drop off a car length or 2 so you can get your
we've had a change for the lead. Davies has dropped off. He's made a mistake somewhere, so he's behind Rhodey and Walsh. And cut to the replay, and it wasn't He was already behind Ross at the time, so let's go back. Oh, he's had a big accident coming down the hill, so I've cut to it. Lost the rear end a little bit at turn 6, used too much curb coming down the hill and spat him into the wall on the other side. That is a big, big hit, and he might have some suspension damage from that. But he's going to keep fighting it. But that is Ross now into the lead. Another Davies choke. And another...
He's not happy. His exact words to me just then were, "Don't even fucking talk to me."
But he's now 5.5 seconds arrears of Brendan Ross, and he might even come under a bit of pressure from Brenton Foley with still 4.5 minutes plus an extra lap remaining.
Well, to reset the race, I may as well just say it now. Rossi is my hero.
Well, every time you said
great
that...
race for Davies. Good win. Proud of you. But next time you beat FCR, I'm coming to your house.
Well, I guess you're never going to his house then.
I mean, basically, he's got one fucking good night for him. And he's already fucked that up. If he watches his back, I'm going to get so much abuse.
Well, you're going to get abuse from him anyway, I think, regardless. But all the traffic playing a little bit of havoc with Turmo. He's had to make a late move into turn 2 to get past Brian Walsh. And Rhodey, ever the opportunistic, sends it up the inside as Walshy was keeping an eye on the 2 leaders behind him. But Rhodey's then mucked up at turn 4, and it's going to be a drag race between Rhodey and Walshy down into turn 6. So we'll cut to that, which is currently the closest battle on track, at least by time. It doesn't look like Walshy's going to send it at the moment, but these...
Foley out of the slipstream coming up to turn 5. He's just ducked back in, backing out of it smartly there, just to give Turmo the room. Looks like Foley's starting to get a bit impatient with 3.5 minutes to go.
Well, I think he has every right to be, because actually Luke Joyner behind him, 3.9 seconds, and he is just edging a little bit closer. He's a 16.8. Sorry, not 16.8, a 17.2 on that last lap. He's sort of matching these guys in front of him. A little bit of contact between Turbo and Foley. Could see Luke Joyner right there. As Joyner tried to force his way past Brian Walsh there.
Something gives me the feeling that the FCR team owners just had a word with Foley, and they might see a move coming up right exactly now.
He's had enough. He's ran a little bit wide though, and Turbo's going to go straight back up the inside on the switchback. But Foley making things interesting. The team owner should do this more often and tell this ginger to hurry up and start making some great moves.
The last time the team owner at FCR gave orders while out of the race that they were competing in, it resulted in both drivers losing position because said team owner was a bit off their tits and bored watching the stream.
Well, that was a fantastic call, regardless. Foley now...
It was pretty good. I had 20 minutes of entertainment.
Yeah, so hopefully he does it a little bit more often. Foley having a look into turn 6, a little bit more seriously, it has to be said, than previous laps. He's right behind Turmo and close enough to make a move into the penultimate corner. But
yeah, I think Foley should have it go into the second last corner and then just try the block paths. Just ruin Turmo's momentum coming onto the main straight, and that's where Foley's going to make this position up, as the team owner goes and tells him that exact thing.
Well, he is going to have an opportunity to make the move into turn 1. He did try last time and outbroke himself by just a little bit, and that allowed Turmo to get by on the switchback. This time, thinks better of it, and it's going to try and set it up just a little bit better this time. And they've only got Dwayne Davies 4.8 seconds up the road, as Turmo a little bit of a mistake at turn 2 and 3 chicane. He's outbroke himself at turn 4. Foley had to just get out of it, otherwise he would have just rear-ended the rear end of that RS3, and that's cost him a bit of momentum. He's not going to be close enough to make a move at turn 6, but if he has a good run through turn 6, 7 and 8, he might be able to make the move at Dandenong Road if he's close enough. If not, he might be close enough at the penultimate corner. Ooh, and he's close now. He's very, very close. So he's had a fantastic run down the hill. Used the berm on the entry to help him turn in. He is close enough to make a move. He's having a look. Uses the curb to avoid contact. Now he's actually got a little bit of switchback on Turmo, and he should get the better run and drive out of the final corner. And he does. There is a little bit of an overlap, and Foley should now get that final spot. Oh, no, he doesn't.
He'll go for it into turn 1, word on the street.
So he is going for it. And will he pull it up this time? He does just. And he's got a little bit of an overlap. Goes defensive into turn 2. Turmo going to try and get him on the switchback, but you're never going to get someone around the outside. There was a little bit of contact there, but Foley just parking his car beautifully in the middle of the corner, giving Turmo nowhere to go but into the back of the Volvo. And Foley now up into third, Turmo down to fourth, and Luke Joyner only 3.8 seconds away from the back of the RS3.
Your best bet through there, if you've got someone trying to pass you into turn 2, is just let them through and try and sort of put them in the wrong position coming onto the back straight, and then you can get the undercut. Bit of a toe, and he'll be back through by turn whatever it is.
Yeah, well, we've cut down back now to Netherelmian and Steve Bolger having a nice little battle for P6.
Do you have to piss? I got to piss. Let's just tell everyone to park for a minute.
Yeah, we'll just pause the race. Time has expired. It is Ross has started the final lap, so we are battling for sheep stations now. With really the championship decided for first place. Let's just go for it.
Championship. So this will be Foley's night of the week, won't it?
Well, it would be.
I should probably know that, given I pay the man fucking nothing. Should at least be supporting him.
Should be, but why'd you do that? He's a ginger. But anyway, Netherelmian holds on for
He
now.
is a ginger.
We'll just cut to the lead to see where he is. So Ross about half a lap away from claiming race 2 victory. He's had a very nice run. Nice and clean and consistent. No mistakes this time around. Hasn't run into the back of Dwayne Davies. And coming down the hill. He's only got a couple more corners to navigate. Unfortunately, his championship charge is over. He will finish second in the championship. In fact, he's slowing down for whatever reason. What is going on here? He's not going to let Dwayne Davies go, is he? Or is he just going to tease Dwayne Davies in second place here? He's driving very, very slowly. No, he's just teasing. And Ross will claim race 2. Dwayne Davies second place. He'll be frustrated after leading the early portion of that race and throwing it away coming down the hill. Foley will recover to P3. Turbo a little frustrated he couldn't hold on for third in the end, but still a solid night for him in the Audi. Luke Joyner a very solid P5 in the end. Steve Bolger will hold, well no, he'll take P6, so he's jumped up in front of Nether. So we'll just cut to a replay. Nether locking up coming down the hill at Dandenong Road, and that pressure from Bolger just too much for the Ford Focus driver, and that has allowed Steve Bolger to claim P6 on the last lap. Nether will be kicking himself as Nether will finish P7. Cracker will finish in P8. He had actually faster laps than the 2 drivers in front of him, but didn't quite have the consistency. Burko will finish in 9th place. Philip Ogden will cross the line to round out the top 10 on his debut round in TCR
Nah, mate,
Oz.
he's Whitmore in disguise.
Gary Neville will finish in 11th place, and he'll finish in front of a hapless Mike Coulston, who's had a shocking second race here. And for those playing at home, Rhodey did win the toilet bowl for the final little battle between himself and Brian Walsh for 13th place, with our co-commentator the retirement of the race.
I wasn't in the race. You're drunk.
Well, you did lead for half a lap and then you binned it, so
I don't remember that at all.
you should. I'm surprised you weren't sick all over your screen considering you've been drinking.
It's only half a bottle, more than half a bottle of whiskey. 2 hours.
What are you doing, mate? You should have finished it.
Oh, I drank the other half yesterday. Just finishing it off.
Well, why didn't you get another one?
Oh, I was sleeping. I was drunk.
Fair enough. Anyway, just to round out, obviously, the results there for race 2 in the end. Brendan Ross taking race 2 with Dwayne Davies in second place. Brenton Foley in third, followed by Turmo in fourth place. And let me just find these other results here so I can run through the entirety of the results. So just give me a moment.
You run through the field enough, you dick.
No. And Luke
Yeah.
Joyner in 5th place. Steve Bolger in 6th place, able to steal 6 from Netherrealm right at the death, as now that locked up into Dandenong Road. Cracker.
Bit of a hiatus there.
Yep. And then Cracker in 8th place. Steve Burko in 9th. Phillip in 10th. Gary Neville 11th. Mike Coulston 12th. The last driver on the lead lap, followed by Rudy and Brian Walsh a lap down. So, FCR taking both the races this evening, with Brenton Foley taking race 1, Brendan Ross taking race 2. But that said, there's still some fantastic racing up and down the field, and we've also seen the inaugural championship be decided, with our TCC champion continuing his form into TCR. So, Brenton Foley, congratulations obviously on your race 1 victory, and congratulations again on taking out the championship tonight.
You ginger cunt.
I'm driving for you. Thanks very much. Yeah, it was really good. The second race was a bit hectic. There were people checking up all over the place, but it was good fun. I think I have to apologise to Termo a little bit for defending a bit crazily on that second last lap. I bumped the curb and it just threw me from one side of the track to the other. But overall, it was a really good race.
Yeah, obviously you're able to sort of just drive away a little bit in that first race, and once you're in the lead, you never look like losing it. And your rivals fell off the road, with obviously Davies and Ross coming together, which made life a lot easier for you. But that, yeah, as you said, that second race though, had to fight your way through, and it wasn't really long enough a lap for you to obviously make up the time that we're normally accustomed to you doing in these reverse grid races.
Yeah, it's weird. It's normally a track that's pretty easy to pass on in most cars with the big straights, and you can put a dive down the inside and things like that. But I found it quite difficult to effect a pass in most spots. But overall, yeah, it was still really fun.
Yeah, and obviously Termo did make you work for it in the end in that third race, but you able to just steal it at the end there. So is there any tips, I guess, you could give to Termo for next time in what not to do when defending, or do you think he did a really good job and it was just you were just able to overcome him in the end there?
Don't bother FCR for the win.
I had some pretty good advice from a team owner on where I should throw the car on the inside, but overall, no, he was driving really well. He had pace in most of the passing spots, which is why I could kind of get it up the inside, but not fully affect the pass. I got past at one stage down at turn 1, and it was really weird. It caught me off guard. I think I might have geared because it was grinding in neutral and somehow didn't blow it. I had to clutch it pretty quickly and put it back in second and keep going.
So did my dog just puke? There's an interview question you don't get in most fucking racing series.
Well, normally you don't ask anything because you're a pussy. But anyway,
Shut your fucking mouth, you duck cunt.
Quack. Anyway, congratulations once again, Foley. Obviously, race 1 victory and championship victory, continuing your hot Monday night series form with, I believe that's now 4 consecutive championships in these Monday night series. So what is the secret to driving these front-wheel drive cars? Because you've seemed to master them.
I honestly don't know. I have a really good setup that we work on all together. We normally start with a base setup and tweak from there per track, but no, it's a good team effort.
Fair enough. Well, once again, congratulations and good luck for the final round of the season at Adelaide.
Thanks very much.
All right, well, we might as well chuck it over to our second place getter in the championship and our race 2 winner in Brendan Ross. So, Rossi, let's just go back to race 1 for a moment. Obviously, you're behind Dwayne Davies. Could you talk us through that contact that you had with him? Were you just caught off guard by where he broke, or did you just make a slight mistake and you just had, obviously, you ran out of brakes and had a little bit of lockup and you had nowhere to go but the back of the Ford Focus?
A little bit of both, I think. I sort of got caught off a little bit, but just probably went a little bit too deep. So, definitely my issue, but yeah, it just felt really bad. So... You don't like doing it, so yeah, it's just one of those things.
Bit of a shame, but obviously you did serve a drive-through for that, but you were able to sort of recover and pick up a decent amount of points in the end I can't remember exactly where you did finish in that first race. Let me just grab a look. I think it was around the 10th or 11th place in the end there in race 1. Yes, 6th place, my mistake.
You smug bastard.
But not quite enough to keep you in the championship hunt. I guess the pressure off in that second race there, that the championship was over and you could just drive without having to worry about, obviously, Brenton Foley and closing him down in the championship?
Look, the championship was a long way off 2 rounds ago. So the pressure was pretty much off then. So I was just looking forward to tonight. I really like Sandown. So just glad to get a win in some cases, but just feel bad for Dwayne. Just falling off the road in race 2. That was definitely his win there, but you just got to take them how they come.
Well, in the end, you do have to finish. You have to get to you have to not make a mistake. He made the mistake. You didn't make any mistakes in race 2, and you took the win in the end. So well done on the second race win there.
Thank you.
All right, so you don't have our other podium getter from race 1, so we'll jump over to Nether. Obviously, Nether, race 1 there was quite hectic there, but obviously you had faster drivers in front fall off the road, and then you had quite a number of battles for a number of the race, and you're able to just hold on in the end there to pick up another podium this season.
Yeah, that was an interesting race 1 for sure. Very, very combative in the early running. And there was actually one moment where I didn't actually intend to do it, but I sent it down the inside at Mike. I actually almost feel like I completely outbraked myself. Somehow I managed to pull the car up and avoid contact with Mike down at Dandenong Road at turn 9. And I said to him, I didn't mean to do it. And he's like, mate, I can't believe that you actually did it. So kudos to him for giving me a fair bit of space for that one. But yeah, that was definitely a good run in that first race. Second race, not so much, but ended up with a good battle with Steve Bolger for most of that second race as well, coming home 7th. Still a good haul of points for the night, though.
Yep, obviously you weren't able to hold on in the end in race 2, but just going back to that moment and overtake of Mike Coulston in race 1, that was caught on the stream, so you'll be happy to know, but unfortunately you've undone all that hard work and not claimed that it was a deliberate overtake, because it caught not only obviously Mike by surprise and admittedly yourself by surprise, it caught us by surprise that we're watching. So it was a fantastic move, whether deliberate or not.
Yeah, well, I'll definitely have to watch that one back. I think there's been times in AMS Oz where I've deliberately sent things. I think one of the best ones I think I did was in the Porsche Cup days last year at Interlagos. That was probably the one that I did deliberately the best. This one certainly was, I guess, if it wasn't deliberate, you could probably call it opportunistic. It turned into an opportunistic move at the end of the day.
Still a fantastic move, and ended up getting you a solid result in the end of race 1. Weren't able to hold on with that nice battle with Bolger in the end there, but with all that's going on this evening, you are now sitting in 3rd place in the championship. So you didn't start the season off too well with a couple of 11th places, but since then, and particularly since Malala, you have been pretty quick out there and deservedly sitting in 3rd place. Well done.
Thanks, mate. Looking forward to 2 weeks from now.
Yep. Congratulations, and good luck at Adelaide. All right. Well, speaking of Adelaide, let's just bring up the calendar for one final time. So we've been through 7 rounds, and as you can see on your screen, Adelaide, December 2, Monday, December 2, at Adelaide for the final round of Season 1 of the TCR Oz Series, which will be back in 2020 with probably an expanded grid to 9 rounds. So if you're interested, head over to Automobilista Australia Facebook page and jump on the Discord, grab and have a look around, ask around, and hopefully we have a few more bigger grids and some newer drivers for next season. But yep, December 2, the final round of the championship. And we hope to see you there, and hopefully we see a couple fantastic races. Anyway, from myself, Lewis Wedding, and our illustrious and slightly drunk guest, Matt Williams.
I heard my name. What's going on?
And thank you for joining us for the broadcast. Cheers.
What?